Canada Through Time, Pioneer Life by Kathleen Corrigan. The First Pioneers. Pioneers were people who came to Canada from another country. They made their new homes in the wilderness. Pioneers began to settle and claim land around 400 years ago. They had to work very hard when they arrived. Some pioneers settled in Upper and Lower Canada. Upper Canada, Lower Canada, United States of America. Did you know? Many pioneers came from the United States. Other pioneers came from Europe. The first pioneers mostly built log cabins or shacks to live in. They used logs from nearby forests. A cabin might have had only one room and a dirt floor. A fireplace was used to cook food and heat the cabin. Later pioneers built homes with wood planks. These homes might have had 3 or 4 rooms and glass windows. Sometimes pioneers ate, slept, and lived in just one room. Some pioneer cabins were very small. Clearing the land. Pioneers cleared their land so they could farm. They cut down trees and took tree stumps and rocks out of the ground. Pioneers plowed the soil so they could then plant seeds and harvest crops. Sometimes they planted around big things because they didn't have the tools or time to dig them out. Pioneers sometimes used thin tree trunks to make fences. Pioneer men and women had to work very hard to clear enough land to plant crops. Growing food. Pioneers grew most of their own food. They planted fruit, vegetables, flowers, and herbs. In their plowed fields, they planted crops like corn, rye, oats, wheat, and flax. They would either eat these crops or trade them with other pioneers or First Nations people. Pioneer children helped their parents in the fields. Did you know? Pioneers dried hay and straw for their animals. They also had to dry, pickle, smoke, or salt food. This helped to keep the food fresh during the winter when no crops could be grown. Hunting food. Pioneers also went hunting for food. The men hunted animals such as deer and ducks or went fishing. The meat was cooked and then eaten or dried for winter. Women and children foraged for plants and berries. It took a lot of hard work to make a pioneer meal. The pioneers used many parts of the animals they hunted or farmed. For example, they made clothing from animal skin or fur. Did you know? Pioneers cooked their food over a fire. They used iron pots and kettles. Bread was baked in an oven that was built into the side of the fireplace. People in different places. Many pioneers lived far away from a town. They might go there only once or twice a year. Some families lived closer, so they could go to the school, church, and stores. Children far from a school might learn at home. Some did not learn to read. Some pioneers lived in huts by water. The general store sold things the pioneers could not make or grow, such as needles and thread, tea, sugar, dishes, and candy. Town life. Between 1750 and 1850, the pioneers began to build more towns. The towns were usually built near water. People could travel by boat between towns, and they could use the water to make their mills work. Many people worked in towns, for example, blacksmiths. Blacksmiths made things from metal, such as tools and horseshoes. Did you know? There were many machines in towns. Millers used machines to help do their work. Grist mills ground flour and sawmills made planks of wood. Pioneer schools. Many pioneer schools had only one room. The children had to work silently, except when the teacher spoke to them. Children got up early to do chores before they went to school. They might milk the cows, collect eggs, or help cook. Children had chores at school, too, such as bringing in firewood or cleaning desks. At school, one teacher taught all the grades. This school at Bear Creek was just one room. Pioneer clothes. Many pioneers had few clothes. A boy might have 2 shirts and 2 pairs of pants. A girl might have 2 aprons, a dress, and a bonnet. It was hard work to wash clothes, so children wore the same clothes for many days. Old clothes were saved and the cloth was used to make rugs and quilts. Pioneers made their clothes. They used animal skins, wool, and linen. They also repaired their own clothing. Family life. Pioneer children helped their families every day. They helped to look after the animals and worked in the fields or garden. Boys chopped wood and brought in water. Girls milked cows, weeded fields, and collected eggs from their family's hens. They also worked in the house by sewing, cooking, and doing laundry. Pioneer girls helped their mothers do all the household chores. Did you know? Pioneer women used a spinning wheel to make yarn for weaving and knitting. First Nations and the Pioneers. First Nations people were already living on the land when the pioneers arrived. Some First Nations people helped the pioneers. They showed pioneers how to find food such as berries and to hunt in the woods. First Nations people showed the pioneers how to make useful items such as moccasins and canoes. Did you know? The First Nations people called beans, corn, and squash the Three Sisters. A legend says these foods will grow well only if they are planted together. The First Nations people taught the pioneers how to make medicine from plants. They also taught the pioneers how to make maple syrup and maple sugar. Maple treats made food taste better. The pioneers collected sap from the maple trees. Pioneers boiled the sap to make maple syrup and maple sugar. Did you know? The First Nations people taught the pioneers useful ways to travel in the wilderness. This included using snowshoes, moccasins, birch bark canoes, and toboggans.